Hello, welcome to the Australia Council. We'll say hi. I'm Sandy and I'm sitting in a room at the Australia Council with 5 of my colleagues. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are on Gadigal land, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and we pay our respects to the elders past and present, and we thank them for their custodianship. Hi, everybody. As I said, I'm Sandy Collins. I'm a manager in the Artist Services team of the Australia Council for the Arts, and we are here to talk about the Arts and Disability Mentoring Initiative, which closes on Tuesday, the 13th of April. And we are looking forward to getting your questions. Please direct all of your questions to the Q&A function, which is at the bottom of the screen. And if you're unable to do that, please contact us. There's a variety of ways you can get in contact with us, basically at inquiries@australiacouncil.gov.au, via the telephone 02 9215 9000, the National Relay Service, which is 1800 555 677. And we will attempt to help you in any way that we possibly can. So we are very, very pleased that we have our very special guest presenter, the wonderful Deborah Keenahan, who has been a recipient of the Arts and Disability Mentoring Initiative. Deborah is going to take us through the project that she was funded for and spruik the initiative for us. The initiative is for 6 artists and it's a $30,000 payment. I'm not going to go into all of the details of everything. I'd really like to throw to Deb, if you are ready to go with your PowerPoint presentation, which we will, Deb will audio describe and speak to the PowerPoint.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I would like to thank the Australia Council for inviting me here today and to speak with everybody. I'm doing a visual presentation. My slideshow comprises of 12 rectangular slides that have text and images on them. The images are arranged in 1 or 2 irregular pebble-like shapes on each page. The text appears mainly on the flat coloured background between the pebble-like shapes. And basically, describing myself, I have a visible disability. I actually am in most of the images that you will see on the screen. I have my disability is achondroplasia dwarfism. I am short-statured. I am of medium age. I really like that descriptor. And I have curly grey hair that sits just above my shoulders. So the first slide, the image that is there is me standing on the pavement, back towards the camera. I'm facing into the sun in a shadowed city back street. This is actually in the Rocks area. There are multiple people walking towards me down the crowded street. So today I'm talking with the Australia Council for the Arts about disability mentorship. And the project that I received funding for was titled Smashing, Little Big Woman, Breaking the Glass Ceiling. So the second slide, that is a closer shot of me, nearly full length. I am facing the camera and I am amongst other people walking in both directions of a city street. This is actually again in the Rocks area of Sydney. Now, the focus of the presentation that I'm doing today is particularly the Arts and Disability Mentoring Initiative. But what I want to focus upon in particular is the importance and value of mentorship in an artist's development. And that's going to be my emphasis today. So the third slide, this shows an old black and white sideshow promotional photo from the 1930s. And this depicts a fellow by the name of Harold Pyatt. He was 23 inches tall and he is standing next to a non-disabled man in a suit. So, in other words, this is a little bit of the history that people with my disability have that forms something of the discourse around our physical being. Now, when we're talking about disability, and we are today talking about the disability mentorship, right? It's important to actually talk about the definition of disability. And basically, when we're talking about the definition of disability, it varies depending on the perspective or the model that people use when they think or talk about disability. And one model that has had prominence for a very long time historically is the medical model. And that emphasizes impairment. That emphasizes, for want of a better term, what is not quite right with somebody. And basically it considers deficiency. But the model that has taken much more greater prominence now, and is certainly the model or the framework which you would suggest that initiatives such as the mentorship certainly adheres to, would be what I refer to as the critical social model. And the critical social model emphasizes disability as social relational, as opposed to biologically determined. So, in other words, what the critical social model looks at is what are the social barriers, and they may be the built environment, but also that they're the attitudes and the relationships, the processes within the way society functions that actually puts this extra layer or unnecessary layer of difficulty upon people who may have or do have physical, psychological, intellectual differences. So it's looking at those social structures, those social relations. And as like, let's take, for example, with my condition, yes, I have certain limits imposed upon me as a result of being 123 centimetres or 4'1" in the old scale, right? And basically, I will say ad nauseum to people who've heard me say it, my dwarfism doesn't disable me. Nowhere near as much as people's attitudes to my dwarfism. In other words, it's the attitudes that say, you can't do it. You're not allowed to do it. You can't be here. You can't be there. You can't, simply because of the difference. When if it wasn't for the attitude, I'd probably be able to do perfectly fine. Thank you. So that's very important, to look at the social limitations that are experienced by people with these physical, intellectual, emotional differences. So the next slide, that basically is an image of showing me below the windows of a sunlit exhibition space. I stand next to a plinth looking up at my own sculptural work. Now, the sculpture is made up of 3 identical life-size white figures of myself, facing away from each other and joined at the lower back area as they bend down towards or downwards, smiling. The work is titled Little Big Woman, Condescension. Now, basically, this is one of my artworks, and I just want to tell you a little bit about my art practice. And basically, the purpose of my work is to extend the focus of what I refer to as disability aesthetics, away from passive representation judged within the beautiful, ugly binary, to the expression of agency within dynamic interactions. So, in other words, my artwork focuses on those relations, those attitudes, and tries to capture, represent those attitudes that are experienced as disabling. The attitudes, the reactions to my physical being. Now, in my art practice, I use multi-art forms, 2D photography, some of which you have seen that already and that I have described. I use 3D work, which is the sculpture, as you can see. Virtual reality, performance, video, and sound art. Okay, can we go on to the next? Thank you. So this slide contains 2 images. In the first image, my back is to the camera. I walk through a crowded street. A woman in the front left corner of the photo turns looking downwards at me as I pass. In the second image, It is a side shot of me walking by a sandstone wall by a harbour. Four non-disabled people are walking behind me. One of them, a woman, looks across and down at me, smiling. So these images capture what some of those that I call the instances, the micro, what can often be referred to as microaggressions that signal difference but have an attitude to them. So my work develops an arts-based inquiry that utilises different strategies of embodied engagement. What I like to do is try to encourage and engage those who view my art to become immersed into it, into my experience, so that I examine and communicate my experience via aesthetic interventions, via my art. So if I could have the next. Now, because I do multi-art forms, right, this means that, you know, art is always a learning experience. Now, this slide that you see, it's actually two images again. And the first one is me wearing a shiny, metallic, long-sleeved dress. My arm breaks through a glass barrier. My eyes are shut tight as large glass shards break up in front of me. And the second image is a close-up of my fist breaking through the glass. These two images come from the work that I've actually made with the Disability Mentorship Grant. And that this is part of smashing, breaking through the glass ceiling. So the mentorship project, this work employs visual metaphor, and it's about addressing the barriers that are experienced and breaking through the barriers, the visual metaphor of attitudinal, physical, social barriers. It is a video artwork that is the focal point of a greater installation that aims to challenge stereotypical screen-based representations of dwarfism. So, can we please? Now, what I would like to talk about, this slide basically again shows two images. The first is in a backstage work area. I stand facing a smiling young woman. That is my daughter. And she has the same visible disability as me. And she is applying my makeup to the eyes for this work. She actually trained in theatre makeup with NIDA. And the second image that you see, that is there, is a close-up of an open laptop on a desk. It shows a strip of 3 images of a film storyboard. A woman with closed eyes, then open eyes, then running. Now, what I would like to talk about now are two things that are, I believe, absolutely essential for all artists, but is really, which is why this mentorship grant is so important. And that is the two things of collaboration and mentorship. For me, I basically say that all of my works are collaborative, because in all of the works, whether I am painting or doing sculpture or the video work, I could not do them. I could not complete them without other people, without working with other people. And as my art practice evolves, I like to experiment in new areas, with new things, with new ideas. And that is where the mentorship is so important, because basically you're bringing together individuals with different capacities and different skill sets. And it's so important. The mentorship is all about learning new processes, learning new practices. And that's what I would argue artists are always doing. They're always experimenting, always trying new things. And basically, these grants such as this allow that degree of engagement in the learning process, which is just critical to developing new skills. But it's not just about developing new skills. There is something else that is also very important, that has been incredibly beneficial to me through this process, and that is developing networks and just getting to make connections with different people in different parts of the industry, and just becoming engaged with different professionals. And that is a critical part of what this mentorship grant enables or encourages. Now, my understanding from about the grant is that there are predominantly two different types. There's mentor-mentee relationships, or there is peer-to-peer mentoring. For me, my particular grant was peer-to-peer mentoring. And the reason it was peer-to-peer is because I was working with a group of people, whom I will identify them a little later, who had skill sets that I didn't have. And I wanted to tell my story through these skill sets, and they were interested in my story and my approach to expressing and representing disability aesthetics in the way that I wanted to. And so for them, they considered that they were learning as much from me about disability aesthetics as I was from them about the technological skills or how to do a certain type of representation to tell my story. Now, the images that you see there are part of the process. As you can see, or that is represented in the top image where my daughter is applying the makeup, I was both the main artist in this project and in the sense of writing it, but I was also the performer in the work. Now, the second image there showing the storyboard, this was one of the skills that I learnt through the mentorship with the director, whom I will identify in another image, of actually laying out the story that I wanted to tell through these set images, which would help the cinematographer in capturing the essence of the story. Can we have the next slide, please? Now, here we go. In this slide, there are again two images. One is an outdoor daylight film shoot, and this is in an industrial area street. I'm wearing a shiny, metallic, long, glamorous dress. I am talking with a colleague who is sitting on an esky listening. The second image is a close-up of a video camera monitor. It is a blurred shot of me, and my closed hand is raised and heading towards the camera. Now, the individual I am talking with there is Simon Rippingale. He was the director of this work, and he was the animator who walked me through how to capture and break down the story in the visual storyboard, so that we could walk through how to capture the video artwork. The other image there captures some of the technology that was required for actually doing the work of capturing the work of the monitor. So if now the filming, it took a lot of development. It was about developing, communicating the idea visually. What was the emphasis of the story? The visual images that were particularly powerful for communicating the idea of effort and barriers and breaking through the problems that are sometimes faced. So the visual metaphor of breaking through the negative attitudes. So if we could go on to the next slide. Now, this is even more creative process, and this shows two more images. The first one, the same outdoor film shoot with lights and cameras in an industrial area street. I'm wearing the same long, glamorous dress. I stand before a window frame structure set up on the road as I talk with a colleague, that is Simon Rippingale, who is standing alongside the frame. In the foreground, a cameraman is positioning a film camera on a dolly before us. In the second image, it is a side view of the same outdoor film shoot. The cameraman kneels before the window frame structure that I am behind. He holds a camera that I am looking into. I'm actually madly running towards it. Now, the cameraman is Evan Papagiorgio. The other gentleman in the background was also part of the crew. And actually, as when you view the video itself, these images will start to you'll identify where they come into the work. And basically, this is us rehearsing the process, building up prior to the final two shoots. Okay. And it was in those final two shoots that we brought together that edited to produce the final work. Now, I'd just like to say that what was important for me as an artist was to understand as best I could all of the parts of the production of this work that I had not known before. So it was understanding how to communicate my ideas through this new medium I had not worked with before. But this was a medium that had a number of different aspects to it. And that was the pre-planning of the story, the idea, so that it would translate into video art. That was a whole new skill set that I learned. It was then the actual, and this was a really important thing for me, for my learning, was the project management part of it. In other words, the more finite, shall we say, organizational details of bringing different people together and actually planning out the project itself to get the work done in the time that it needed to be done. And then there was a whole new skill set that I was learning around editing. So I learned a lot in this process. And so hence, that was what was absolutely essential in the mentorship. Could we go to the next slide, please? Now, here on this slide, it shows there's no image. It actually just simply shows a video web link. And that web link actually shows the end result, or actually it's a very compressed version of the end result. So I believe that's going to be going up on the website for people to access with, and with it will be audio described. Could we please go to the next image? And this image, it's a smiling group photo of film project collaborators and crew standing amidst camera and electrical equipment. There are 7 people, 2 sitting, others standing, and most of a dog being held by the woman standing in the front right of the shot. I am in the centre in my glamorous dress. I might add, I never got out of that glamorous dress all day. And I am leaning against a man seated on a chair. Now, this image here actually does not capture absolutely all of the people that collaborated with me in this project. But it does show the majority. And I could not have produced this work without all of these people. And I learned the mentorship in particular was between myself, the gentleman whom I am leaning against, and Simon Rippingale, who is stood holding the hose there. And basically, this is the creative team who assisted in the final production. So I would just like to, for me, the challenges and opportunities that doing art, mentorships, and that present. And basically, such opportunities are for access and diversity. And they are adhering to what I would consider a very comprehensive, which is necessary, a comprehensive approach to access and diversity, whether that be curatorial, creative, or representational. And the thing is, when we talk about access, quite often when you look socially and when we talk about access and art, people automatically tend to think about the access of audiences. But I talk to people and say, well, what about artists with disability? Because in many ways, artists with disability will experience access issues. And part of that is access to skills learning and so on and so forth. And that is why initiatives such as the mentoring program is so important, because it's addressing the artists with disability. But also when we're talking about access and diversity, the actual representation of disability in art. And basically, often artists with disability can be telling stories about themselves. And so that is allowing these stories to be represented in the way that artists with disability want their stories to be told. And that is a critical point for artists with disability too, and for people with disability. So basically, it can lead the way in challenging reductive binaries around disability and discursive regimes about disability that present it negatively or present as barriers. So opportunities such like this are absolutely essential and critical. And that is the power and the opportunity that mentorships and collaborations allow. So basically, if we could go on to the next, I think, yeah, there are no images here, but what I would like to ask is what is it we want the future of the arts to be? And from my perspective, I'd basically say I would like the arts, or I'd love the arts to be a site for meaningful, activist, discursive and intellectual exchanges between the widest possible range of people in order to account for a greater spectrum of human sensorial experience, whether that be physical, perceptual, cognitive. And that is why basically mentorships like the Disability Mentorship Grant does. It encourages exactly this sort of thing. So in other words, it allows us to do what I would say is walking the walk of access and equity. So there we go. That's my presentation. Thank you very much.
So much. Are we muted? No.
Unmuted.
Okay, you're muted. Okay. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you so very, very much. That was illuminating and inspiring. We've got some questions that are around the grant, and we've also got some other ones as well. I might just, while you're hot and on the boil, and I think you may well have already answered it. We have a question from Sarah. Yes.
Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. Sarah has asked, the director is mentioned, but who is the mentor? And I think, Deborah, you actually touched on this peer-to-peer thing. So if you can answer that.
I had 2 mentors. They were Simon Rippingdale and Louis Pratt. And I talked about them in the group photo. Louis, I mentored with Louis because he is also he was brought in. He is he's actually a sculptor predominantly. That is his art practice, but he was brought in. He's also a video and a film artist, and to work with getting the visuals as well. And we worked on how do we capture and represent that breaking through the barriers that are faced with disability. And from the film, you will see that I literally physically crash through a barrier. And it was working with Louis that we had to experiment with how we actually built this, how it was going to be effective as regards capturing the imagery, the visual metaphor that I wanted to use. So they were my 2 mentors.
Thanks, Deb. We have another question from Matthew, who asks, I'll read the whole question out. I seek clarification on the extent to which arts professionals who are not artists are able to seek funding under this initiative. Whilst I understand that applications are open to arts professionals, the project must involve an artistic collaboration and have a clearly defined arts component. I would appreciate further guidance on what is meant by those terms and any limitations this places on arts professionals who are not artists participating in their initiative. Thank you. I'm not sure whether this is the answer, but this grant is only open to individuals. It's not open to organisations. And Dane.
Hello, my name is Dane. I'm a big, tall, balding guy in my, what was it, middle years? Is that what you call it? Medium years.
Medium.
I've had a read of this one, Sandy, so I think I might be able to answer it. So an arts professional, as you've mentioned, Matthew, you may not be a maker of art, but perhaps a way of thinking about it is someone could be a dramaturg, a theatre director, a record producer, a gallerist, a literary critic, or a choreographer. So they're involved in making work or participating in an art form, but they don't actually, they're not necessarily the person making the art. And we still consider those roles as important, and that's why we put them alongside artists and arts professionals.
Again, I just want to reiterate that it's not, that the grant's not for an organisation. It's designed for partnerships and collaborations between individual arts workers, arts professionals, artists with disability. Great. Okay.
And Leanne Donnelly has posted in the Q&A to say, thanks, Deborah. And I think we mimic that as well.
Yes, we certainly do. Are there any other questions?
That's all the questions we have.
Okay.
Sandy, unless anyone would like to submit any new questions while we're here.
While you're thinking about that, I would just like to, I don't think I need to describe myself, do I? Yes, okay, I will. I'm Sandy. I'd like to say I'm in my middle year. I'd be lying though. Yeah, okay. Dark brown hair, I'm wearing glasses, and I have a mole right on the left-hand side of my face, which is very, stands me out in the crowd, put it that way. Children love it. As I say, this is the third iteration and final of the Arts and Disability Mentoring Initiative, but we have had the Arts and Disability funding will continue for the next 3 years. There is going to be an evaluation on these last 3 years of arts and disability mentoring. And this is, we're really here to talk to you and want you to talk to us about putting in an application to the next round, which is Tuesday, April 13th. Yes.
Can I actually just add a little something?
Of course.
Just very quickly, that I just wanted to let people know that now the larger work that I talked about this, the mentorship producing, and that it was going to be part of a larger work that has now been completed, and on the basis of the mentorship grant, the people that I mentored with and the team that we developed actually continued on with me to produce the larger work. So that grant has had an ongoing, continuing impact. So yes, it's been priceless for me.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yes. Yes.
And Paul Calcott has also posted in the Q&A saying, thanks, Deborah, love your work.
Which we all do.
Thank you.
Please contact us, all of the team. I am going to go around the room now that we're wrapping up. I have Rebecca Robertson on my right. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Beck.
Oh, I'm introducing myself. I am Beck. I'm an Artist Services Officer. I'm a light-skinned Afro Black person. Yes, I also live with neurological disability and am neurodiverse. So I'm happy to sort of speak to any artists with those sort of experiences who want to know a bit more about this initiative.
I'm just going to jump in. Sorry, there was a question whether the mentorship is from Alana. Is the mentorship grant application only open for people living in New South Wales or Australian wide? It's national, it's Australia wide. As long as if you're an Australian artist or arts professional, get in touch. Inquiries at australiacouncil.gov.au. The telephone 02 9215 9000. I sound like I'm selling makeup, but anyway, I'm not. Our national relay service 1800 555 677. And I'm going to go to Dane quickly, who's already self-described, but you can always talk to Dane. And
hello. Yep, I'm here, and my specialty is music, but we all look after all art forms here. So give us a call.
Lena, who did the fabulous audio description.
Hi, I'm Lena. I'm a medium everything, Greek Australian, dark straight hair, wearing glasses and jeans and a very comfy t-shirt and long stay because it's getting cool. But I'm extreme in my passions for arts. So it's great to sit in. Am I saying? Oh,
Megan.
our Megan.
Hi everyone, I'm Megan. I'm an Artist Services Officer. I'm medium height, hair just above my shoulders, a little bit curly, and today I'm in a green and a white checkered dress. I have a background in dance as well, so if you would love to talk about a project with, including dance, then you can always ask for me when you call up.
And Sam Groth.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm quite
You're
tall.
here.
Yeah, I am here. I'm quite tall. I've got very curly hair and a fringe that's also curly. I'm wearing a black dress with a maroon turtleneck underneath because, like Lena said, it is getting quite cold. I am actually in the comms team. So if you have, I guess, access needs to any of our content, you can get in touch with me. And if it comes through the inquiries line that Sandy mentioned earlier, it will get forwarded to me.
Yes. Again, we encourage people to just get in contact with us. We don't bite. We just want to hear from you. We just want to help you through the process of making a great application to the Arts and Disability Mentoring Initiative. And I just want to say thank you, Deborah Keenahan. You've made my year. And how much time have we got left?
Thank you.
You could sing a little
3
song.
minutes.
3 minutes.
We've got one more statement.
Great.
This is again, excuse me, directed to you, Deborah, from Michelle. Love your thematics, meaningful discourse, activism, and intellectual exchange. This is the sentiment and call to action that I plan to take to the National Indigenous Cultural Authority Summit later this year.
Brilliant.
Discourse in the First Nations space is critical. More power to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I can understand the relevance and the parallels in this area. Absolutely. And I'd be happy to talk about that further if that's desired. Yeah.
And just a reminder that this session's been recorded and will be up on our website, as will the link to the 2-minute video from Deb, which we're also having audio described. It's just going to take a little bit longer. We wish we could show it to you today, but we thought we'd leave it as a special prize and an incentive to go and look at the website when you're checking out the Arts and Disability Mentoring Initiative.
Budget question.
Yes, we've got one more question from an anonymous attendee.
It's $30,000. So there's 6 grants of $30,000.
Yeah. So the
So
question was, must the budget be exactly 30,000 or around?
Yeah, so it's something that has about $30,000 worth of value to you. It is a flat fee, but we don't need you to tell us what you're having for lunch.
That's right, exactly.
There's no
So
budget in the application.
that's right. There's artist fees, travel expenses, access costs, etc., materials. Yeah. And we don't want receipts when you've done the project either.
And there's one more thank you for Deb. Yes, please, Deb, thank you, from
Yes.
Michelle in the Q&A.
Thank you. How could we connect, would you suggest, via the Australia Council, perhaps?
How would Michelle like to
Connect?
Email us.
Yeah.
email us and we'll
Forward on to me.
We'll email you, Deb, and then you'll email us and say, yes, please send Michelle's details, or vice versa, and we'll get you
Yes.
together.
Yes.
We just can't do it over the
Exactly. Yes.
waves because of
Yes.
privacy.
Yes.
We get into a lot of trouble.
Exactly. Yes.
Look, thank you, everybody. Thank you to Alana, our beautiful Auslan interpreter.
Yes.
It's amazing
Thank
work.
you.
Love your work. Thanks to the captioners. Thank you
Yes.
again, Deb. Thank you
Thank
to
you.
Mick.
My
and
pleasure.
Fran. Thank you to my fabulous artist services team. And please do get in touch with us and watch out for the recording on the website. Have a great day.
Thank you, Australia
Love your
Council.
work.
Thank you.